Remember yesterday morning when I reported how Donald Trump's own DOJ filed a sentencing memorandum which referenced how horrible the January 6th insurrection was, and also mentioned how Donald Trump posted online in 2023 former President Obama's home address, and then a insurrectionist used that personal address to make criminal and terroristic threats against Obama after Donald Trump posted it. Remember, I said that I thought that someone at the DOJ is probably going to get fired because they essentially, one, called out Trump for being involved in the January 6th insurrection, and not so many words, but they said that essentially when you read between the lines, and then talked about Donald Trump posting this address of Obama and linking Trump in the sentencing memorandum to the individual who was found guilty and being sentenced. Remember, I said people were going to likely be fired or retaliated against? Well, Trump has retaliated against the two federal prosecutors whose names were on that pleading. Carlos Valdivia and Samuel White, their names were on that pleading in that sentencing memorandum of that individual named Taylor Franklin Toronto. They wanted him to be sentenced to 27 months of incarceration, 36 months of supervised release for making these terroristic threats and engaging in other behavior against former President Obama and in Washington, D.C. in general, after this individual was convicted and found guilty. In that sentencing memorandum is where they mentioned Donald Trump and they mentioned the January 6th insurrection. You take a look right here. Those two federal prosecutors were informed Wednesday they'll be put on leave after filing the legal brief that described the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol as being carried out by thousands of people comprising a mob of rioters. And they also mentioned in that brief what I said about Donald Trump putting Obama's personal address out there. These individuals were apparently furloughed due to the government shutdown and then told they're going to be on leave, but it seems essentially that they've been fired. Also, the Trump DOJ has removed the original sentencing memorandum against that convicted felon, Taylor Toronto, which acknowledged the January 6th riot. They removed it from the docket. They just withdrew the document because of what it said about January 6th and Trump's involvement in posting Obama's address. Then they refiled it and removed those references and then got rid of the prosecutors whose name appeared on the pleading. I mean, very, very Orwellian, despicable stuff. Even Ken Delaney in Court Reporter talks about. I think this fits the definition of Orwellian. Here's how Delaney puts it. The two federal prosecutors have now been placed on leave at the direction of the White House after they filed that sentencing memorandum seeking 20 months in prison for a pardoned January 6th rioter who brought illegal guns and ammunition to former President Obama's house in 2023. Two people familiar with the matter confirmed the move, though neither source knew exactly what angered White House officials about the memo, you think? Taylor Toronto, who was arrested while he was live streaming video near Obama's house in Washington, D.C., was found guilty in May after a bench trial of possessing illegal guns, as well as false information and hoaxes charges related to the video he streamed, claiming he was on a one-way mission to blow up the National Institute of Standards and Technology in Gaithersburg, Maryland. So you take a look at the new sentencing memorandum for Taylor Toronto that was just posted. It removes all references to January 6th, and it removes a reference to Trump posting Barack Obama's address on Truth Social, which Toronto saw before going to Obama's neighborhood. It's why he went to Obama's neighborhood. We have the original sentencing memorandum. I want to just share it with you right here so you can see for yourself. It says United States of America v. Taylor Toronto in the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. This was filed October 28th. This is the motion that they withdrew and they deleted after it was filed, which they almost never do. And they did it because they didn't want references to the following. I've highlighted the portions that they've deleted, and I think it's important for posterity's sake that we understand what was actually in the document. Here's what it says. On January 6, 2021, thousands of people comprising a mob of rioters attacked the U.S. Capitol. while a joint session of Congress met to certify the results of the 2020 presidential election. Toronto was accused of participating in the riot in Washington, D.C. by entering the U.S. Capitol building. After the riot, Toronto returned to his home in the state of Washington, where he promoted conspiracy theories about events of January 6, 2021. All that has now been deleted from the document. In June 2023, Toronto returned to Washington, D.C. He drove through the city and the surrounding region in his van and engaged in alarming behavior targeting public officials. Obama. His erratic behavior intensified on June 28, 2023, when he live streamed himself and suggested that he had outfitted his vehicle with a detonator. The next day, on June 29, 2023, then former President Donald Trump published on a social media platform the purported address of former President Barack Obama. Toronto reposted the address on the same platform and thereafter started live streaming from his van on his YouTube channel. Toronto broadcast footage of himself as he drove through the neighborhood where Obama lived, claiming he was searching for tunnels he believed would provide him access to the private residences of certain high-profile individuals, including former President Obama, after getting that information from a public post that Donald Trump made of Obama's address. So all of that has been deleted. You take a look at page 13 and 14 of that filing, and you'll see that Judge Jeanine Pirro, not really a judge anymore, Fox host, turned top federal prosecutor in Washington, D.C. Trump makes these Fox hosts the top positions. But you see underneath, you have Carlos Valdivia and Samuel White. They've now been removed from their positions. And you'll remember on my video yesterday morning, remember what I said? I said, they're going to get fired. I know what Donald Trump was going to do. It was obvious. So Donald Trump is getting rid of the actual talented people at the DOJ, the people who speak the truth. And now he has a bunch of idiots essentially at the DOJ. He's got like pretender or fake United States attorneys like Asali, the Central District federal prosecutor, who was just deemed by the federal judges in California that he's basically unlawfully serving as the United States Attorney of the Central District of California. You have Alina Habba. They're basically like playing Halloween and dress up. Like they haven't satisfied the appointment clause of the Constitution to be in that position. So like they're not allowed to be doing it. So you have Asali, Central District of California, not allowed to do it. You have Alina Habba in the New Jersey Federal District Court as the United States Attorney of the New Jersey District. She's not allowed to be in that position. She's been determined to be there unlawfully. I can give you numerous other examples. And so Lindsay Halligan, who's claiming to be the interim United States Attorney of the Eastern District of Virginia, she's going to be showing up in court next week, where the federal judge is likely going to find her to not be appointed appropriately. And I think that's going to result in the disqualification of the Comey case, as well as the dismissal of the Comey case, as well as the dismissal of the New York Attorney General Letitia James case. In case you're just wondering, like, what do you mean they're like just pretending to be in the position? So under the appointment clause, the Senate has to confirm the positions where the president nominates, the Senate confirms. It's the appointment clause. And the Senate has not confirmed Lindsay Halligan. They've not confirmed Asali. They did not confirm Alina Habba. Now, there's something that's called being an interim United States attorney, but eventually you have to be confirmed, and there's a expiration date for how long you can be an interim United States attorney. And if that expiration date passes, then the district court judges in that district can vote to extend your term, or they can basically vote to have you out. And they basically get to select who's going to be the United States attorney in that district, unless somebody's confirmed by the Senate. Now, under a statute, a law that exists, the president of the United States gets one shot to pick who the interim United States attorney is. You can't do interim twice. So you get one interim. So in the Eastern District of Virginia, there was already an interim United States attorney. The Trump regime fired or pushed that individual out. And then they said, no, Lindsay Halligan's our interim. second interim, you can't do that. You need to be confirmed by the Senate. Alina Habba, never confirmed by the Senate. Asali, Central District. And there's other examples across the country as well.
You know how with dog food, it always feels like you have to choose fresh and healthy or easy to store and serve? Well, not anymore. Thanks to Sundays, you could have both. Sundays is fresh, air-dried dog food made from clean ingredients customized for your dog's unique needs. Their size, breed, allergies, activity level, all of it. Unlike other fresh dog food, Sundays does not require thawing, refrigeration, or prep. You just pour and serve. That's it. It was started by Dr. Tori Waxman, a veterinarian who's devoted her life to animals, and the quality shows. The ingredients are 100% all-natural meat and superfoods, 0% synthetic ingredients or artificial junk. We switched our pup to Sundays and we noticed the difference fast. More energy, calmer mood, softer coat, no eye boogers, and yes, better stool. Sunday delivers right to your door so you never run out, and you can cancel or pause anytime with their 14-day money-back guarantee. Make the switch to Sundays. Go right now to sundaysfordogs.com/Meidas and get 50% off your first order. Or you could use the code Meidas at checkout. That's MEIDAS. That's 50% off your first order at sundaysfordogs.com/Meidas. sundaysfordogs.com/Meidas, or use code Meidas at checkout. MEIDAS.
But I think it's also important to point out that the talent, the bench of good lawyers at the DOJ is basically being all but extinguished. Like the DOJ lawyers now who are doing what Trump wants them to do are just like bad, like not good lawyers, like the type of lawyers who represented Trump and lost all of his cases. They're like the Alina Habbas and the Lindsey Halligans, not smart people, bad lawyers, don't know what they're doing. That's not to say there's still some, I want to be clear, there's some DOJ lawyers with their head down who are trying to survive. They don't know what else they're going to do with their, like, it's hard to just leave your job. But by and large, the talent is leaving the DOJ, and that's an understatement. So like what we're seeing is like, look what just happened at the Eastern District of Virginia, which Lindsey Halligan now supervises. Like, this is unheard of for Department of Justice officials, lawyers to lose cases like this. And this is happening on a daily basis right now, where they keep on losing cases. Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. I'll just give you another example from yesterday, but I can give you so many examples. And it's because they're filing bad cases and they've got bad lawyers. So they keep on losing, and the DOJ doesn't lose like this in the past. So you have a jury yesterday acquitting a former Coast Guard officer who was charged by the Justice Department in Virginia with making threats against Donald Trump. It took them just an afternoon, a few hours, and they found this guy, Peter Stinson, not guilty. He was released right away. The jury instantly rejected what the Trump regime was claiming about this guy, that he had a First Amendment right, and the jury said not guilty. Why'd you even bring this case? Here's how it was described. A former Coast Guard lieutenant and sharpshooter was arrested for allegedly making threats against Donald Trump. A 19-page FBI affidavit lists out scores of alleged social media threats against Donald Trump. This guy, Stinson, served 30 years in the U.S. Coast Guard through 2021, and he also served as an instructor at the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA. Found him not guilty right away after he was arrested. Go to Massachusetts, go to the Boston area. The Boston Globe just did this report. The DEA said it arrested 171 high-ranking Sinaloa cartel members. A spotlight investigation found that's not true. This is a great local news coverage by the Boston Globe. Real shout out to them. And here's what they said. And they focused on, this is actually in Franklin, New Hampshire. Trump's escalating war against Latin American drug cartels crashed into this leafy old mill town with surprising force one morning in late August, when heavily armed federal agents and local police kicked off a series of raids by tossing a flashbang grenade and bashing in a door. The show of force was followed by an announcement from federal authorities that in coordinated raids across New England, they had seized more than 500 pounds of drugs and captured nearly 200 members of Mexico's notorious Sinaloa cartel, the violent syndicate that supplies illegal drugs to the United States. So we're talking about these leafy old, sleepy old mill towns. Wait a minute, 200 members of the Sinaloa cartel were busted? It all turns out that it's a lie. The special agent in charge of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration of New England's division, Jared Forget, said the crackdown led to 171 cartel members arrested. The DEA didn't name any of the high-level arrests that were part of the national sweep that they claim netted 600 top-level Sinaloa cartel members. We're the DEA. We're not going after low-level drug traffickers. Well, then the Boston Globe's Spotlight investigators, they reached out to they looked through all the court records, and it turns out that the people who were arrested were just like local drug addicts, like people with problems and just people who were addicted to drugs. Like one of the fathers was like, my son's not a drug dealer. Like he's dumb. He's not a drug dealer. I wouldn't mean that he called his son dumb. It's like, my son's not a Sinaloa cartel leader. It's people like this, Tyler Alati. It's kind of slander. I have nothing to do with the Sinaloa cartel. It makes you worry about your safety when they are talking about cartels. Samantha Shirtliff, it's ridiculous. They're just trying to make themselves look good. Vespa, we're not doing anything. I mean, we're just drug users. That's all. What's the name of the cartel again? You just go through some of these people. William May, they just wanted to round up the usual suspects. They went up, just picked up drug addicts. And then they said that these are Sinaloa cartel members. And it's again why these cases are not sticking. And it just makes you think as well that if they're pretending that these individuals are Sinaloa leaders, which they're not, I just want you to think about the war crimes that are being committed every single day by the Trump regime in the Caribbean, shooting and killing those fishing boats where they go, these are drug dealers, they're narco terrorists. But wait a minute, when 2 individuals survived, they weren't prosecuted or extradited to the United States. They were allowed to just let free in their country when you say they're narco terrorists. And by the way, even if they're drug dealers, there's still a process. You don't just go and start killing people. Do y'all remember when it was discovered in the Bush administration, waterboarding was taking place at the CIA black sites of potential Al-Qaeda leaders? And we're like, America shouldn't do torture like that, when they would just put the water over the face and make people feel like they were drowning. Imagine it was that, but they went up and just start shooting people and killing them. That's what the Trump regime is doing. This is war crimes. And these people who are engaged in this at all levels of the chain of command can be guilty of war crimes when they're finally held accountable. But they're saying the Sinaloa cartel members were just these local drug addicts, and saying these were the leaders of El Chapo. No, what are you talking about? It's just lie after lie after lie. And then finally, you just look at the arrest that took place yesterday. Federal indictment of our friend Kat Abu-Ghazala. I mean, you arrested her. Here's what she had to say. She's peacefully protesting in Chicago. And she's running for Congress, by the way. And then they arrest her and federally charge her. Here's what she had to say. Play this clip.
My name is Kat Abu-Ghazaleh. I'm running for Congress in the 9th District of Illinois. And the Department of Justice is charging 6 people, including myself, with federal crimes for exercising our First Amendment rights near ICE's Broadview Processing Center. This is a political prosecution and a gross attempt to silence dissent, a right protected under the First Amendment. This case is a major push by the Trump administration to criminalize protest and punish anyone who speaks out against them. That's why I'm going to fight these unjust charges, but I need your help to do it. As I and others have exercised our First Amendment rights, ICE has hit, dragged, thrown, shot with pepper balls, and tear gassed hundreds of protesters, simply because we had the gall to say that masked men coming into our communities, abducting our neighbors, and terrorizing us cannot be our new normal. And because Chicago doesn't back down from bullies in masks who tear gas our neighborhoods, this administration has resorted to weaponizing the federal justice system to scare us into silence. But we're not going to be silent. The Trump administration wants you to be afraid of speaking out against it and its anti-democratic power grabs. And there are plenty of reasons to be afraid right now, but we have to overcome that fear. This case targets our rights to protest, speak freely, and associate with anyone who disagrees with the government. And while we have seen the unhinged and unlawful tactics this administration has used against the American public, it's important to remember they're doing this because they are scared. They are wrong. And they know they are on the wrong side of history. We cannot diminish ourselves in the face of these attacks. That's why we have to unite and stand up for humanity, our rights, and everyone terrorized by Trump's lawless secret police. You'll be hearing regular updates directly from me about this case and how we can use our constitutional rights to resist authoritarianism. And as scary as all of this is, I have spent my career fighting America's backslide into fascism. I'm not going to stop now, and I hope you won't either.
And you all know that Kat is running for Congress out there as well. So shout out to Kat. I mean, she's peacefully protesting. She doesn't just talk the talk, she walks the walk. Anyway, everybody, hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million, and thanks for watching.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.